All right, so everyone out there listening today, we have Deb Wallace here with us. And Deb, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about you? Who is Deb?
Okay, hi, my name's Deb. I am a mother of four kids and a massage therapist. And what else about me? Um, I guess, yeah, my those two are probably my two favorite things, being a mom and being a massage therapist. So I was like, oh, what is my identity?
I know, it's such a hard question, right? My husband was like, I don't know, Megan, like, should you keep asking people that because they seem to be like stumped? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I feel like it's really like, it's hard for us, but it's also really good for us to be like, all right, who are we? Like, what like makes us run and tick, you know?
Yeah,
But
I
no,
think
I mean, I feel
that's
like when I
an
think of
important
you,
question.
that's exactly what I think, right? Like awesome mom to four kids, which I'd love to hear more about. So, how old are your kids, Deb?
My kids now are 15, 18, 19, and 21.
Wow. So, you
So,
have your
yeah,
hands full, obviously, four
yeah.
kids. So, tell us a little bit about your motherhood journey. So, how did it start?
Well, so I was 22 when my first child was born, which is so weird. I was 21 when I found out I was pregnant. And so to have a 21-year-old is like,
I know
oh my goodness,
you're so young.
I know. So I was 21 when I found out I was going to have my first baby. And so in my 20s, I had my kids at 22, 24, and 25. And then there was a little bit of a gap, not too much. And then I think I was like 27 or, but,
Wow.
so it's almost like I grew up with my kids.
Yeah.
And now being 43, um, the joke that I say with them all the time is like, I'm finally old enough to have kids and I'm ready. I know what to do and how to do it. And they're like, we're all grown.
They're like, Great. Like, what happened? I mean, but it's
Yeah.
so incredible though, because so you had kids young. Like, was it planned to have kids that young?
Well, so the first one wasn't really planned, but it wasn't prevented. I got married at 19.
Oh,
I was going
wow.
to school to be an elementary teacher. Um, and that was my whole goal was to be a mom and a wife, have
Mm,
6 kids, have that beautiful big house.
yeah.
And I'd be an elementary teacher because that's the job you can have. That's the same schedule as your kids.
Yeah.
And then I went to cosmetology school because I loved doing hair. That was my passion.
Yeah.
And so I would do that for like weekends and summer. So my plan didn't plan out.
Yeah. So I guess like so what happened? So you planned this and God had different plans, right?
Yeah.
So you got married at 19. I mean, that is so young. So how did you
Yeah.
meet
So
your
young.
husband and whatnot?
We met up at Word of Life on Scroon Lake in New York. So we met when we were 16 as campers. He lived in Colorado. I lived here in New York,
Oh my gosh.
and his grandfather lived here in New York, so he'd visit for the summers. And so we started dating after high school, when after I graduated high school at 18, and then we got engaged and ended up getting married right away. And I moved to Colorado and lived there for 7 years.
What?
So
Oh my
three of
gosh.
the kids were born there.
Oh, see, I didn't even
And
know that about you. Wow. Okay.
yeah. And then we moved back here, and the fourth one was born here. So
Okay.
yeah. And then
Wow.
we did end up getting divorced at 35. So I think
Okay.
the youngest was 6, maybe. The oldest was 11. So between 6 and 11.
Okay.
Um, was when we got divorced at 35, and now
Okay.
I'm 43. So it's been about eight
Yeah.
years since
Wow.
since
I mean, you
then.
guys were married for a long time. But I
Yeah,
can't
15 and
imagine
a
like
half years.
I mean not only did you say your plans changed, but I can't even imagine how much you have like matured and grown since getting married, at the age of 19. So
Yeah.
so talk about the change. So you went to school to be a teacher. What happened with that?
Yeah. Well, I guess my biggest thing is like my whole world just went upside down, like shifted. At 12 years old, I was very strong-willed, stubborn, goal-oriented. This is my plan. And
Mm,
God, my plan has to be this plan. And it wasn't, I was always raised in the church and always raised believing in God, but the God that I knew then, I was in control, and he was just supposed to be the genie in the bottle that gave me my prayers.
Yeah.
And so, um, going through my 20s and actually watching my kids grow and dealing with them and raising them, that's when I really truly met God, was in the disciplining of my children and trying to guide them and raise them. And when they wouldn't listen, hearing God say, there's so many times that I've whispered in your ear to do something and you wouldn't listen.
Wow.
So I would say, as a mother, I grew closer to God over the past 21 years than I ever have in the whole 43 years.
Yeah.
So the growth of actually learning to let go and let God and understand that our lives are his to begin with, at least for all of us who have taken that step to believe in him, that you can't really parent your kids in a godly way without letting him lead your choices. And so that was a lot of stuff of like letting go and not being so controlling,
Right.
and learning that
Right.
he's the one who's supposed to control it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like letting go of your dreams and stuff, you're saying too, of being a teacher. And
yeah, letting go of my dreams of being a teacher. And so I was during that time, 7 years, I was a stay-at-home mom. And as I knew divorce was coming, I knew I had to go back to work, and I had my cosmetology license. I didn't finish college. I only did 2.5 years because it was too hard having two babies.
Yeah, I can't even
At that
imagine.
time.
Yeah.
So I switched to cosmetology school in 2006 and graduated, then moved here and got my New York license. And so I knew I wanted to open up my own space. And so I was going to open up my own salon or spa, but I wanted to hire massage therapists. So that's when through my divorce, was when I went back to school for massage therapy. And that's when I realized, oh, I love this modality of helping people and healing people. And so I switched from cosmetology even to, I still have my license, so I still do some things, but
I mean, both super, super important for everyone, right? With confidence and healing and all of that good stuff. Yeah. That's cool. And now you have your own space, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually in my space right now. I have 2 massages later on this afternoon, but so I finally have my own space, and I've been here for like 19 months now. And it's just slowly growing, slowly growing. It takes a good 2 to 5 years to build the clientele you need to sustain yourself. But I'm putting my faith in that and hoping this is where I'm supposed to be. It's going to grow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I totally feel that right now because I'm rebuilding my clientele as well. And yeah, it's really hard, but you do. I mean, you just have to be so consistent, and they're going to come, and it'll be great. So throughout your motherhood journey, I mean, what do you think were some of the biggest struggles that you had, with your kids growing up?
So I guess for me, my childhood trauma, I guess we all have like something that happened. My childhood trauma would be, I didn't have good relationship with my mother. And a lot of that I put on myself. I'm adopted, so I was in foster care and then adopted. So I have my birth mom, my foster mom, and then my adopted mom. And in that first, from birth to like 2.5, 3 years old is when a child really develops so much of who they're going to be. And so I went straight from my birth mom to a foster home that was this huge Italian home with many kids. So you're always hugged and kissed on and loved on. And then I moved to my house that I was adopted in. I was an only child for a brief moment. And my mom there is not that physical touch person. She's an acts of service person. So growing up there, being an only, the oldest child, going from the youngest to the oldest child, and then going from physical touch to no physical touch, I
Mm,
felt that I wasn't loved.
mm,
So when I became a mom, I was like, well, I'm going to love my kids the way they need to be loved. And
mm,
it wasn't until becoming a mom and realizing that my mom had her own childhood traumas and we were able to
mm,
talk about it and heal that. It's really important to know where you came from and where you're going,
mm.
and learning that balance of, there's so much ancestral baggage that goes from generation to generation. And so
Mhm.
without actually sitting with that and going through that, I think it's hard. We tend to be like, well, I'm not going to do what my mom did.
Mhm.
And instead of being like, well, what was it? Why was she that way to begin with?
Yeah.
What happened to her?
Yeah.
Um,
And I feel
and
like we're
so
so
that
hard
was,
on them too,
yeah,
right?
we are.
Until you become a parent and you're like, "Oh, like I get it now." Like
Yeah.
because then our baggage comes up. You become a parent and you're like you said, you're like, "I'm not going to do that. Like I don't want to be like
Yeah.
that." And then you're like, "Oh my gosh. Well, maybe she has some of that stuff or is like completely incapable of
Mhm.
putting forward that type of love because of maybe
Yeah.
something that happened to her." That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That
But you said
is.
you've worked through it with your mom.
Yeah, we were able to talk. She was able to tell me things that happened to her that I was like it clicked right away. Like, oh,
Oh my
that I can
gosh.
totally understand that. That's why you're not a hugger, and that's okay to realize everybody receives love a certain way, but then everybody gives love a different way.
Mm.
So trying to honor
Yeah.
that. And so I try to do that with my kids of getting to know them. And
Yeah.
that was, I'm a huge quality time physical touch
So I mean,
person.
you're talking in my love language right now, or like you've obviously read that book,
Yeah.
Stephen
Yeah.
Chapman, right? Yes. So love languages. I mean, highly recommend it. I can definitely link it in the bio, like in
Yes,
the show notes.
I loved, and that book actually helped me with my kids because out
Yeah.
of four kids, you everyone is so different. And my one daughter, I remember her being, she's 18 now, and I remember, I think she was 12 or 13. I took her to go ride horses for her birthday, and it was an hour away, and we're driving. And I was just like, why don't you love me? Because like I expected she's
Yeah.
gonna hug me and just be like, that was amazing. But she was like, she was so grateful and said thank you, but she's just not a hugger. So I pulled the car over and she took that quiz and she got a 0 for physical touch.
Yeah.
And her highest was acts of service and words of affirmation. So at that
Mm.
point, that helped us get closer because I realized I need to stop trying to touch her and hug her because it irritates her,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to give her these words of encouragement of like, oh, thank you for cleaning up
Yeah.
your table plate. Thank you for making your bed, and just doing things like she likes to have that security of like, oh, maybe I'll
Mm-hmm.
clean her room one day. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
made her happy that when things were bad, especially through the divorce, they've always seen me cry. She then in turn started hugging me more because
Yeah.
she knew that's what I needed.
Right,
And
because that's
so
your
I
love
do.
language.
I think
Yeah, so
everyone
I
should
mean,
do
you're
that.
right. I mean, my daughter's 9 now and she hasn't taken it. Like my husband and I have done it together so many different times. We're actually going through his devotional, couples devotional right now. It's really, really good.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, I love his writing. But yes, I think I'm gonna have Gray take it because you're
You
right. Because I think we
should.
do all have these unique things that make us feel loved. Like mine's acts of
Yeah.
service, and so is my husband's actually. And I feel most appreciated and loved when someone does just a random, act for me of service, and it can be
Yeah.
really, really small and that makes me feel really good. Um yeah, that I'm so glad you brought that up, Deb, because I think that is so helpful.
Yeah.
And I've never really even thought about doing it for Gray. I mean, I
I
definitely
think
know
there
what
is a book for kids,
is
like
there? Okay.
for parents about kids. I think he wrote one. I might have it at home,
Yeah.
but
That's a great
yeah, I'll have to
idea.
check.
And I think that would be really helpful for everyone listening, just to understand their child, because I mean I can definitely say that, like, just like you said about your daughter in the car, there's times where you're like, why is she not like bowing down to me saying thank you, thank you, thank you, or like, you know,
Yeah.
like all, and but it's just not them, right? Or we might just
Yeah.
are not perceiving them correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
So it's very important to have that open communication with your kids. And
Yeah.
another thing that I used to always tell them is like, as a mom, we do have like those dreams and hopes, like my kid's gonna grow up and be a teacher or be a doctor,
Yeah.
but they're their own person. So I've
Mm.
always said, I might have this dream or thoughts about you, but I want you to always know it's a safe space for you to tell me what your dreams and thoughts about you are,
Yeah.
so that I could help or shift my mindset or try to help you achieve those goals and dreams, which is hard sometimes to let go of that.
Yeah.
But to watch my kids to be able to live their truths and go out and do what they like to do. I have one at the Bible Institute right now, and
Oh,
she
it's
just
amazing.
talked about maybe 2 years she wants to go and be a missionary.
Oh
So
my
it's like, that's
gosh.
kind of cool. But that
So
wasn't what I
cool.
thought she'd do. I was like, why don't
Right.
you run a bookstore and own a cafe or something? And
Yeah.
but that's not where her
Yeah.
life shifted to. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows, right? She's really young. That could change too, just like
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
plan.
She could do that for 2 years and then run a bookstore. Who knows?
Right. And we do know them better than anybody. I'm always like, my
Yeah.
daughter, like, you would be the most amazing lawyer. And she's like, no, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm like, oh, great. That. You'd be really good at that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard to keep your mouth shut when they are opening up to you, though, right? Whether they're telling you a
Yeah.
story that you're like horrified by, or you just have to sit there and listen about something incredible too. It's hard. But you're right. You do want to be that open book where, like, come and tell me, no matter what, come and tell me, even if you think, you know, you did something wrong or made a mistake. You know, I want to hear about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, for kids, how do you balance all that? And like now you're a single mom, right? So,
Mhm.
how do you do all of that?
Oh, lots of girlfriends,
Okay.
lots of prayer. Sometimes it's you don't want to like put certain stigmas on your kids, but I have two that always ask permission. And then I have two that always ask for forgiveness. So I
Okay.
had to learn like what to leave around, what I can trust certain kids with.
Mm.
It is a balancing game. So I was lucky to have, when they were younger at the beginning of the divorce, having my dad come and watch them some of the nights that I had them, so that I could go to school and study.
Mm.
I joined mom groups, mom
Yeah.
Bible studies. I did MOPS for a year.
What's that?
Um, MOPS is Mothers of Preschoolers.
Oh,
And
okay.
so like when Johnny was younger, I was able to do a group like that where I know it's nationwide, but I don't know where around here there is
Mm.
one anymore.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. And then lots of local churches have like mom Bible studies that you could
Mm.
go to. I was going to Faith Baptist in Rexford. I know they on Tuesdays or Thursdays always had a mom's group, like from
Mm.
10 to 12 or 9 to 12, that they had people watch your kids in the nursery, and then you
Right.
got to fellowship with other women and eat
Yeah.
and do Bible studies and have prayer. And so that was good, because then once you met friends there, you'd start going to parks and
Right.
getting out. My lifesaver was I always got the year membership to the zoo. My kids
Okay.
love animals. And
Okay.
so we lived at the zoo for years.
Okay. Yeah. So
So
just to have
finding
that
things
activity to do together,
yeah,
a
yeah,
tradition. Yeah. That's cool.
yeah.
So, I mean, your kids are getting older now. Like, what do you see in your future, Deb?
Oh, well, see, if I could plan, I'd have a house full of grandbabies.
I know, right?
But So this year is like a transformative year. I have 3 kids now that are out doing their things, making
Yeah.
their choices, driving. And last night we all voted. So I got to have 3 kids that voted. And so that was interesting to
Yeah.
actually think of and talk to them about what they thought and what they wanted
Mm.
and what they want their future to look like. And it was
Yeah.
interesting to see that
Yeah.
they're all different. They're all different.
Yeah. I mean, that's just such a different conversation to have with your children.
Yeah,
And for them to be old enough to go and actually make that choice for themselves
yeah,
too. That's
yeah.
crazy.
And to not let me want to control that, right? And be
Yeah.
like, wow,
Yeah.
you have to be an adult. You have to have your own
Mhm.
opinions and you have to accept the consequences of whatever choice you make.
Yeah.
But I'm still here, I'm still your mom. So um I guess for my future of just that in like 3-ish years, 4-ish years, I'm gonna say I'm an empty nester and I'm
That's
gonna be in my
crazy.
40s. So that's
Wow.
crazy.
So what do you want to do when you're an empty nester?
I want to travel. I want to
Yeah.
travel the world and see things. I want to grow my business and maybe
Mm.
travel with massage, maybe go to another country for 6 months as a massage therapist. I know I was looking at things at Greece. That was kind of
Oh my God,
interesting.
so cool.
But over the last 2 years, God actually put on my heart with massage therapy. And sure, as doing hair,
Hmm.
people talk in your chair.
Hmm.
And so we end up being like therapists. And
Yeah.
so right now I'm going back to not like school. I'm in training to be a biblical counselor.
Oh, so
So
cool. Yeah.
I'm in phase 1 and
Okay.
there's 3 phases with the programs that I'm in to get that certificate to do that. So my
That's
goal is
awesome.
I want to work with children and women who have had trauma or
Mm.
domestic violence or sexual abuse or anything like that,
Yeah.
to understand that there's good touch opposed to the bad touch.
Yeah.
So to use massage therapy and to use the Bible and to use talk therapy and to be able to counsel them. So I'm
That's
just going
incredible.
with the flow and seeing what God
Yeah.
has for me. But that's my thing that I just started in October, the training. So
That's
it will be a
amazing. Are you
while.
liking it so far?
I It's humbling. It's
Yeah.
convicting. It's changing. It's deeply changing me. There are things talking with a couple of friends of just like, wow, I need to change some of my
Mm.
behaviors and be more faithful. And so it's like I'm counseling myself while trying to
Yeah.
learn how to counsel others and to read the Bible daily. It's like, wow.
Yeah. No, that is crazy, right? I mean, I'm a certified life coach and I had to go through the program myself first and like for personal work before I could actually become certified. So it really is you're like basically coaching yourself or counseling yourself before you're
Yeah.
going to counsel others, which is so cool though too, right? Cuz like you're going to get so much
Yeah.
growth from this and then be able to
Yeah.
go out and just help other people with it. I love that. And it's so cool that you're
Yeah.
incorporating massage into something so life changing, for people that don't don't know that touch, that they have such a negative reaction towards it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
love
I'm excited
that.
just to see where
Oh
that
my
goes.
gosh. So cool. Well, these are all wonderful plans. I mean, if there's anything out there you could tell people today, advice you would give women that might be going through divorce or have 4 children, what would you say?
Uh, Having multiple children, be okay with having that messy house because one day
Mm.
they'll be grown, they'll be teenagers and young adults, and you'll miss it. And it's
Okay.
okay for your house to be a little messy. So I would say find other women that have children younger than yours and
Mm.
older than yours because it gives you someone to teach and it gives you someone to learn from.
Okay.
And that's important.
I
I
love that.
liked that. I
Yeah.
liked being able to have that.
Yeah.
Um, and pray a lot. and just understand life is messy, but it's
Yeah.
in the mess that you learn the most. So
Yeah.
having multiple children is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll be everything and you don't get paid for it. But the
Right.
reward is just so filling when you see them do good things and when you see them be kind
Mm.
to others. And so
Yeah.
just pour your values into them, but let them build their own.
I love that.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like
thank
the messy
you for
house
having
thing,
me.
you really do have to embrace that. I mean, I have one child and I'm like, you know what? It's just gonna have to wait, right? It's just gonna have to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even with one, even because we like it clean, we like it neat,
No,
but even with one, they'll have friends over or they will do crafts and make a ton of mess. And you're just like, okay, you know what?
it's okay.
Today's the messy day.
It's okay. Maybe more than just today, but you do what you can, right? I mean, you got to
Oh, yeah.
prioritize. Yeah.
Yeah. Be forgiving with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well,
Mm.
Deb, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and talking with me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Where can we find you? Where is your studio?
So I'm located on Route 50 in Glenville. I rent a room in Capiello Chiropractic. So Dr. Nancy's downstairs, and then
Okay.
there's 3 massage therapists upstairs.
Okay. All right, cool. What's the name of your business?
Elizabeth Rose Total Health and Wellness. So it goes by
Okay.
Earth Wellness, ERTH. So it's
Okay.
Earth without
Oh, I
the
love
A.
that.
And so I love trees. So I was like, oh, that works.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I will link that below for everyone to be able to find you. And yeah, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right, have a great day. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you
Bye.
later.